Welcome back to Hardwood Abyss. In today's video, I'll be making a diorama capturing the moment when the walls still stand, but the ground is slick with the fury of the opening assault. I start by cutting pieces of XPS foam and sketching the gateway onto the main sheet before cutting it out. Then I layer additional foam to build the overhanging walls above the gate, support pieces to give it strength and depth. I wanted to add an interior wall for the building attached to the gate, so I shifted a few supports and cut out a new sheet of XPS foam to form the wall. With the rough layout in place, I start positioning the miniatures to see where they fit best. I'll have a link down below to all the models used in this video. For the interior wall, I wanted a sloped roof, so I cut the top of the foam at an angle. I sketched an arched doorway using a template for accuracy. Then used my hot wire station to slice a thin layer the depth I wanted and cut out the door with a hobby knife. I then drew on a brick texture and glued the sheet back onto the wall. For the door in the gateway, I used balsa wood and sketched the shape directly against the gateway to use it as a guide before cutting it out. For the gateway itself, I wanted it to have a sloped archway to give it a real fortress elegance. So I drew a guideline and cut it out at an angle. I then drew the brickwork onto the foam to bring out the stone texture. After that, I marked out a row of granulations on a new piece of foam to form the protective parapet that defenders could shelter, and glued this onto the gate. I then glued on some supportive beams to the doors and broke them apart, as if the Minotaurs had smashed their way through. Then I spread some volatile earth texture across the base and smoothed it out with a wet brush. I had already glued one of the doors to the ground so it would stay fixed and blend naturally as I worked the texture around it. The internal wall needed something extra on its side, so I glued a thick balsa wood beam next to it, as if it was a support for some wooden scaffolding higher up. I then tore small pieces from a thin sheet of foam I textured with a rock to give it a rough stone surface. And then I pressed them into the wet earth texture to create a simple pathway of flat stones. After that, I placed the remaining pieces of the broken door into the mud and added the fallen human corpses along with the beheaded Minotaur. I pressed everything firmly into the wet earth and used a bit of glue for the figures set on the pathway to keep them secure. Then I cut out wooden shingles for the roof of the internal wall and glued them in place. After everything had dried, I covered the entire diorama with a black base coat using my airbrush. I then painted the brickwork with 4 shades of grey, dry brushing the final layer for depth. After that, I painted the mud and the woodwork, and gave the fallen models except the beheaded Minotaur a simple base coat, since I planned to blend them in later with the mud. I then added blood effects to the fallen and across the ground, tying the figures and the muddy base together for a more dramatic scene. After finishing the painting, I wanted to bring a touch of life back into the scene. So I added patches of grass across the ground and blend them together with some more mud effects. For some extra gruesome blood effect, I mixed Yoo-hoo gel glue with blood red paint and used a toothpick to apply it to the fallen models. I then added ivy climbing over the fortress walls and spreading onto the roof, bringing a natural touch that softens the stonework. Next, I painted the two main Minotaurs. If you're enjoying the build so far, please like the video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. It really helps me keep creating these projects. While I work on them is a short story to set the scene. The first roar came with the breaking of the gate. Men fell before they even raised their shields. Minotaurs, huge and relentless, tore through the breach, their horns and axes carving a path of chaos. Inside, the defenders fought from stairs to stairs. Arrows and spears slowed the beasts, but every fallen soldier only stained the stones deeper. Now the fortress holds, but barely. The courtyard is littered with the dead, and this air still shakes with the rumble of hooves. The charge may be over, yet the siege is far from done. Now I glue on the two main models with super glue and add more gore to the weapons using the Yoo-hoo gel glue mix. For the final touch-up, I painted the edges of the diorama with black 1.0 to give it a clean finished frame. And now, onto the final product.